Love is a beggar, love is a king. Whatever love is, it's always some other thing. Oh, love, 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 you're for real. Love has no problems, I have my share. But when I find love, I won't even care. Oh, love, 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 you're for real. Some look within and some look above. Love has no form but the one that you love. Oh, love, 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 you're for real. If I never succeed by hard work or tricks, if I can't sell the bridge, if I can't hit the licks, I will have me a fountain that will flow by my door. I will ride it forever and I will ride it some more. Love, 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 you're for real. Ask me if I'm happy, ask me if I care. If it's too far away, love will still take me there. Oh, love, 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 you're for real. Let love make you like it, transforming free. In time and by fortune, love is all you will see. Oh, love, 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 you're for real. Love is like Jesus, it is priceless and true. If you search for love, then love will find you. Oh, love, love, you're real. You're for real. If I never succeed by hard work or tricks, if I can't sell the bridge, if I can't hit the licks, I will have me a fountain that will flow by my door. I will ride it forever and I will ride it some more. Love, love, you're for real. Yes, love, 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 you're for real.
The views expressed in the following show are of the host, the guest, and the callers. The content of the following show, its accuracy, authenticity, and the ramifications of the use or application of said content is the responsibility of those speaking and listening, not the broadcast medium.
And now, live from Chicago, here is the Black Knight of Talk Radio, James Arthur Yancek.
All right, we are back and we are live. Feet to the fire. I'm your host, James Arthur Yancek, the Black Knight of Talk Radio. In year 21, time is flying and it's also slow, but things that are happening in the world are incredibly fast. And today we have with us Les Visible, one of our favorite guests over the years, many years, to talk about what's going on. What the heck is going on in this world? I've kind of titled this, there's incoming messages, both in the spiritual, the physical, the mental, moral, emotional, whatever. And they're coming in. I mean, the sun is exploding, sending stuff. I mean, people are losing their minds, going over the edge. Other people are stepping up. in love and in help for others and so on. So there's something going on. There's a push, a nudge, a pull going on at this time, and it's pretty strong. I mean, at least I feel it. And so that's I've kind of said. There's incoming messages. Are you listening? And what are you heeding it? And whatever I get any kind of spiritual type stuff like that, metaphysical, whatever, less visible, comes to mind. Being everything from a poet, musician, a philosopher, spiritual commentator. I mean, he writes blogs. I have the list of all the blogs that'll be scrolling down underneath. Plus, I'll have it in the links. We are on YouTube at the moment, and it's a kind of a first time I've been on there in a while because of how they've treated independent media in the past. We'll see how it goes. This will be posted on Rumble and on BitChute as well. I'm recording it locally so in case something goes wrong. So let me get to less visible here and push a few buttons. And bingo, it's less visible. You are live on Feet to the Fire.
Well, I can't tell you how grateful I am to hear that, that I'm alive,
Yeah. You've been through a few things and you've come through, Lord willing, and God bless.
That's exactly who's responsible.
Are, I don't know, I'm going to say somewhat unprecedented, at least because of the global scale. You want to go back to Babylon and those eras, there was a lot of stuff going on, but it was local. It was in that area. Now it's everywhere.
Speaking of things that are going on, I follow trends and patterns. It's a very big deal to me. I try to look at the mosaic that's being made by the conditions of the world as they move. I know it's all orchestrated from afar, but reading the signs can be very, very difficult because there's so many lies right now. The lies are overwhelming. It's like that thing with Elon and Trump, and you don't know what's real and what isn't, or that they stage that, or what exactly is going on. Meanwhile, the deep state is ratcheting up to jump on this migration thing. They're going to take whatever opportunities they have to create chaos all through the country because that serves their purposes. And to that end, I wanted to point out that on 6/11, which is also a full moon, Axis Monday takes place. Apparently, it relocates from Cairo to Mississippi or something. The Nile flows one way, the Mississippi flows another, and blood sacrifice is required for certain factions during this transition because it really helps with their blood magic. And this march of 54 nations, people all over the world are all gathering outside of Cairo to march on Gaza. And Israel, as you may know, is deep in the satanic blood magic. And here is a perfect opportunity, 6/11, all these people marching there. Greta's coming in on her boat. All these things are converging. And meanwhile, you've got this Axis Monday thing going on. Now, Axis Monday is a multidimensional metaphor for the center of the world and also for our own center. It's where heaven connects to earth. And it gives also at the same time access to the underworld. And that's the key point that relates to these malefactors over there in the Middle East. You can think of Axis Monday as two serpents in a counterbalancing state, almost like the caduceus. And what's interesting is when I used to take psychedelics, and in the early days, I used to see enormous serpents coming out of the earth and curling and going back into the earth and coming out of the earth. It was fascinating. And it was much later when I realized that it all had to do with this serpent power, which is the essential energy of existence, and which is turned to good efforts and has turned to bad efforts because we were given this free will and we act accordingly to whatever it is that's driving us. So I just thought it was very important to point out this thing about Axis Monday because it's coming up, and these the bad guys, they never let an opportunity pass where they can sacrifice innocent human beings to their blood magic because it makes them stronger. This is a fact. This is why no one's been able to do much about them, because they have this reverse Kabbalah going on. And well, I'll just leave it at that for the moment.
Well, two things. One, there's always blood all throughout history. It's always blood involved. I mean, even in the idea of Jesus dying for your sins, there's blood there, right? So there's always blood through all this stuff. And it's to me, that's like a red flag, a big red flag, no pun intended with the redness. But let me go back for a minute to this changing of the center of the world, whatever, from, was it Egypt, you said, to the Mississippi River?
Cairo to somewhere in the Mississippi. I'm not up on this sort of thing. I'm not an astrologer, okay? And any really good astrologer is kooky at the same time. At least that's what I've always found. They're all kooks. If they're really measured and disciplined and together, I wouldn't trust their mathematics. But there's this lady called Levette. Do you know her?
No.
Spelled Lavette. She's on YouTube. And the people watching or listening can look her up. She goes into this, and she goes into a lot of this stuff. She's got this raspy whiskey voice, and like she smoked a carton of cigarettes when she got up that morning. And so that's another reason I trust her, because she has this very lived-in look to her. And she's a very, very intelligent lady. And if people want more detail on that sort of a thing, I'd go and listen to her. Now, I can't speak for everything she says. And it could be that, well, like I say, astrologers, I just tend to avoid them.
Could you spell that again, please? Lavette.
Lavette.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
And
Betty Levette.
So she seems to be a little more together than a lot of them are. I mean, none of them ever really agree with each other, and they're just throwing aspects and planets around, and then does this, and this means that, and this means this. And most of them don't ever know what they're talking about. The essence of wisdom and of being on point is I don't know. And if you start knowing, you displace the actual knowing, and then you wind up being a fool, basically, because you can't see 360 degrees at one time, and it's always moving. So, I mean,
all right. I am looking, I'm looking up here, and there's a website called Absolute Psychic, Levette Horoscope and Readings. Is that the one?
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. I just know if you put
time on it, but
put Levette and astrologer into any search engine, it comes up all kinds of things. And she's on YouTube. I found her with no trouble at all. Just put her into YouTube, and bang, she came right up. So
yeah, okay, I got it here. So, as with any type of these cult things, blood's involved. So we're situated pretty good between Ukraine and Gaza for plenty of blood in Russia.
Yeah.
Pretty blood going on.
Yeah.
You know what really irritates me is that you got Lindsey Graham, who's got to be one of the darkest of all. He goes to Ukraine, and next thing you know, they're sending drones into Russia, poking the bear like right in the face. It's like they want a world war or war so bad that it's so obvious now. I don't know why don't his people just take him and tar and feather him, you know? I don't.
Well, it just came out. It just came out that Lindsay, the boy banger, it just came out that he is a bag man, and that Ukraine has been taking the money we send to them, and he's been giving Lindsay amounts of this same money. It's a big scandal. I don't know how much of it how far and wide it has reached yet, but I follow someone called Shadow of Ezra on X. And this person is always clued in, and later on always proves out to be correct. And Shadow of Ezra had much to say about Lindsey Graham and what he's been up to. And I guess they're doing everything they can to shut this down now. But apparently they got evidence of money changing hands. And like you said, there he is in Ukraine. And next thing you know, all this stuff's going on. And he's a real war hawk. But that's because they got all these pictures of him with young boys. So, I mean, he pretty much has to do what they say, which probably is Mossad.
Well, it's like I'm encouraged and discouraged at the same time because you see things going on. I mean, Trump, in one way, stepping up. He's unplugging a lot of the Israel backing stuff, told not you and all that. But on the other hand, the stuff's still blowing up in Ukraine. So I don't know if you got any gut feelings on what's going on there.
Well, as far as Ukraine goes, and as far as the government goes, from what I understand, what I've heard, Trump doesn't want any part of that. He's not going to get involved militarily in the Ukraine. Of course, they got ways of, how when they finagled the Second World War and the First World War, they set up events like the shooting of the Archduke at Sarajevo or different kinds of things. The next thing you know, everybody gets sucked into it, unwillingly or willingly, or because they got carrots dangling in front of them. I don't know. And but he has said he doesn't want any part of this. But England, which is the most gung-ho and hawkish of them all, with that moron Starmer, they have decided about putting British boots on the ground in Ukraine, and they're just really publicizing this very intensely. And they're the ones who attacked the Russian bombers that's come out that they bought. The Ukrainians sent these drones over there that were hidden inside of these cargo containers, and they were there for quite a while, and then somebody let them out of the boxes, and they were already inside of Russia, and that's when they went and they attacked their bombing fleet and other military situations. This is the reason Russia is coming back on them now, because of what they did. And this is all British influence, and they're the ones who have been doing it. Now, I don't see us getting involved. I mean, Trump has been very, very direct about that. So, look, there's some very bad people in the world trying to do very bad things, but God is real. The only significant and important thing in life is that God is real, and God's in charge. So everything we're looking at is just dancing appearances. If they suck you in, then you can get drawn into the action of whatever's going on. And the next thing you know, you get carried away and you're part of the whole problem. Or you can just realize that God is real at all times and be in resonance with God. And that's accomplished simply by love. All you have to do is love, engage in higher love, and you're automatically connected to the deity. So if anyone's like, well, how do I go about connecting with God? These people say this, these people say that. Just love. Just love, because God is love. There is no love expressed that God is not somehow a part of this love. And so all this stuff going on here in the world, they're trying to start huge congregations. Look, the avatar's coming. The whole world's going to change. A new age is coming in. They're going to do everything they can to try to upset this. And they will, for the people who get sucked into it. For the people who are drawn into this sort of thing, that's going to happen for them. It's like the people that insist to get on a boat that's going to sink. Well, maybe it won't. Yeah, okay. But if you stick with God, you don't have to worry about anything. Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. And if God is for me, who can be against me? And God is the greatest and most powerful force in all of the universe, and everything's made out of God. So don't let yourself get deceived by appearances. Appearances are for those people who aren't paying a whole lot of attention or who want something. They want something, and they're going to get something too. It may not be what they want, but I don't worry about any of that stuff. God's in charge. That's it. That's my bottom line. Nothing more to say about it than that. And anything I do say is going to be coming around from another angle saying this exact same thing.
I've done a couple of shows on the concept of the kind of the hidden obstacles to finding truth and the some of the things that are going on in the world, like the distraction was the last one I did, distractions that are keeping you from God. When you see the stuff going on, you get worried and nervous. And I've talked with some people, and I say this to myself because I need my own self talk to, that no matter what happens, if you're with God, if you're with God, you say, I want this to happen. I always remember what Jesus said about, like, I'd like this, but not on my will, thy will, and that's how I kind of couch things. I kind of follow that lead, so that when things don't happen the way that you would like them to do, meaning that it's good to happen this way, and it doesn't, and it would get bad, it's still the best way to be with God, next to God, no matter what's around you, because it always will go to the highest, best good. All good things work for those who love God and those who, the way I put it is, hear his voice and follow. So if you do that, the secondary things that we normally think about is irrelevant. I know it's hard to actually walk that walk, but I got to keep that in mind as things go around me.
Yes. The reason it goes back to Babylon, okay? Babylon, cry on Zion, Babylon too. Anyway, Babylon is like it's an actual construct, and it's always around, and let's just call it the deity of the carnal mind. And there's this force always trying to pull humanity down into the cesspit of carnal interaction, because that's their job. It's what they do. And this is why the agents, those representatives of the synagogue of Satan, why they created the Weimar Republic in Germany, which then led to everything that came after that. But if you notice anything about the Weimar Republic and the whole cabaret mindset, all kinds of perversity was going on there. This is the thing they were promoting, and now they're doing the same thing in America and in all Western cultures, which accounts for a lot of the rise in Islam and all kinds of other things in reaction to this. They want to draw everything down into perversity, and this confuses the mind. It drains your strength. It reverses the polarities of your own being, and you wind up literally with your head stuck up your rear compartment, because that's what it does. It draws you down and backwards and inside out. And that's the point and purpose of it. They own all the porn. They own, that's all this stuff is self-evident and obvious. And this is what they do. And that doesn't really have anything to do with me. But a lot of people are sucked into this stuff, because a lot of this stuff is like shell companies, okay, or the way hedge companies operate and stuff like that. You go to try to find out who owns this, and you find out that is owned by these people over here, but this is owned by these people over here, but that is then owned by these people over here, and it keeps jumping from one thing to another and gets your head all completely involved in what's going on here. And you never understand who it is that came and picked your pocket while you were caught up in all of that, and or stole your soul, or broke your heart, or corrupted your mind, or left you bleeding and broken and abandoned out on some highway somewhere along the great helix of existence. There's people that do bad things. They like it. It's what they do. But the light is always stronger than the darkness. Here is the principle. It's all you got to remember. The light banishes the darkness. The darkness has no power with the light. But if you get involved in the darkness, where there's lights in the darkness, see, it's false lights, like will-o'-the-wisps. And next thing you know, you're running through a swamp and you're trying to find this thing, and you wind up in the dead marshes. And true light, real light, it's your soul, and it's present within you. Make contact with it, and none of this other stuff should bother you at all. When these things can generate fear in you, fear displaces love. When your love's displaced, your protection is gone. And this is how they operate. And if they can make you afraid, they got a lever. But how can they gonna make me afraid when the thing I rely on can kick their ass 7 ways from Sunday, which this is today, anytime it feels like it, and for whom this whole thing is a drama that's set up for one reason. What are you going to do? See, that's what God does. He likes to watch. And he set up this whole operation here, and he brings it through cycles of, it goes through the dark, it goes to the light, it goes to the dark over these vast, immense reaches of time, okay? And he's all there watching and going, okay, what's going to happen here? Let's see what they do. Let's see what these people do. Let's see what these people do, because it's all real uncertain in this world. The light and dark thing I was just talking about, and the power of God and the reality of love, there's not much existing down here in this area we're talking about, where it's all confusion and people going, oh, where am I? What's going on? And why else would, all these terrible things happen to these people unless they were confused and lost in the first place? So he watches and he helps and he encourages. If you go the good way, angels come behind you and in front of you, and they lift you up and they help you through these difficulties and adversities until you can get to the sanctuary. The sanctuary is where you want to get to. And if you're going the other way through any of the many, many Byzantine and labyrinthine convolutions of the darkness, well, then they got help. I see it all as a dial. There's this dial, just say red and green, okay? And you turn this dial, and if you just cranking it up, there's more and more and more light and more light and more love and more God. And if you turn it down, you get below this level, and all of a sudden it's dark and it's murky and everything else. And there are demons there. And here there are angels. It's the same force, differently aspected. Angels, light, love, the whole thing, they are direct expressions of God's will. They're like God's fingers playing the gigantic piano of life, okay? But if you get down into the other thing, well, there are demons. Demons are the angels of that plane. Don't get down there. Don't get down there. What's your problem? Why are you going down there? Oh, I got to find out. It looks attractive. Oh, that's hot. Oh, I think I'd like to try that. Well, yeah, go right ahead. That's how you learn, about fire. It burns your fingers. Ow! Okay, I see. But people don't learn until that happens, Notice, look, it's all solved. There is no problem. There's never going to be a problem. The only place there's ever a problem is in your head. And if you're feeding that problem with your attention, and the problem is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, because that's what it does. You're feeding it with your attention, and it's going to grow. It's like they're cute when they're young. You feed this little thing that grows up and is bigger than you are. I mean, watch what you feed. What do you want around you? Make the right kind of invisible friends.
Yeah, I've had a saying where I say that God is going to use you, for example, whether it's a good or a bad one, it's up to you.
Yeah.
And another thing was that people don't, when you say, people don't really understand when they say, well, demons are doing God's work. The aspect of it is that if you want to learn from you're going to intentionally go to the dark side to learn why the dark side is bad. You will. And the farther you get sucked into it, the harsher the lesson. So I have this what's happening now. They're talking about Jeffrey Epstein, whether he killed himself or not. I have no problem with the fact he killed himself. He tried to do it once, so I'm not drawn into that black hole of arguing that, right? Where he was murdered or killed. But when it happened, I was getting up ready for work, and I heard that he had killed himself. And what popped in my head was a little like vision, and it was him waking up like on a marble, kind of like a slab. Him waking up on the other side, and then there was this giant, ugly, goofy demon character, giant face, like an inch from his. And when he opened up his eyes, the demon thing said "peekaboo," and then the scream that came out of him was so blood curdling beyond. I mean, it shocked me out of this little thing, and that whole day I was all jumpy. So it's like, if people are worried about the bad guys getting theirs, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about that. Nobody gets away with anything. Cave de vedette. Beware, God is watching. Oh, he's watching through your eyes. He made us in his image. What people don't seem to get is that he's got angels that handle all the senses. His angel of sight, the angel of sound, all these varieties, and they got their subdivisions. The invisible hierarchy of existence is very complex, and there are all these different levels, okay? And God is perceiving through every single one of them, okay? And we're in his image, so he's present in us, and he experiences life through us. And that means everything. That doesn't mean there's a lot deeper things going on. He set the light and the darkness. Okay. He set the light and he set the darkness for the purpose of demonstration, and this is what you got to deal with. I went through so much shit. I put myself through awful stuff. I don't know why. And not anymore. It's all cleaned up now. It's all gone now for years. But it was a necessary rite of passage for me. And God said to me at one point, he said, well, Visible, I had to rub your nose in it. Okay. That's part of the rites of passage. Okay. It's part of the initiation. It's not just all, bells ringing and people in hoods coming in, Visible One, talking to you in this magic language. Okay. It's experiencing the reality of existence and see this. That doesn't feel good, does it? Here's some more. You like that? And this is how we learn. Now, some people are predisposed to the darkness. They like it down there. And, they're welcome to it. I guess different strokes. And you get put through all these things for various reasons. One of is, thou shalt not judge. Nothing teaches you better than to be humbled by the thing that you were so self-righteous about just a little while ago. Well, I would never do that. And those people were off, and all this and that. And all this just tell you, when to get your ass in trouble, start running around judging everything. My answer to that, to all of it, is I don't know. And I'm a writer. I have to write with these blogs, and I have to talk about good guys and bad guys and the rest of it. But I try to make it a point not to judge, because I know these bad guys are headed for misery that is, it's horrible what some of them are headed toward. And I can't say anything to them, and I can't really do much for them except pray for them. But I got no reason to judge them or be outraged or angry or anything, because they're not going to get away with anything. It's not going to happen. So I just feel bad for them most of the time. Like, oh man, if I were you, I wouldn't. But hey, I'm not.
Yeah, I think I've had a couple things that I've popped in my head, and I've learned the hard way. And it's like when you're attracted to something and you follow that path, and it's a bad path, by going through the bad part of it, you're no longer attracted to that energy. It reminds me of the Egyptian Book of the Dead, when they were talking about when you're going there, don't go to the rebirth choice. It's going to pull you. It's going to want you there. Go to the Buddha. But if it's not pulling you, right, that means you have incorporated that this is not part of my vibration, and you're not attracted to it. So that's like some guys who struggle with addictions, and other guys, they go through it, a fire, and they come out, and now you couldn't get them addicted if they wanted to.
Yeah.
But it's a tough. It's like God shows you what gives you the plan, and if you just follow Him, like in Lord of the Rings, right, when they first came up with those elves, on the far west, they said, come on over to heaven, we'll say, and the ones who went to heaven, they lost. They didn't have any of the trouble that the other ones didn't. Now, the other ones went through the trouble, and they're wiser for it. So both are useful, and it's like, all right, I've already been in the mess, so I want to try and follow that inner voice saying, go this way or don't go that way, because when I've gone that way, I see why you shouldn't. That's why I'm kind of talking about this inner guidance now. I'm thinking, like, I don't want to say it's like a curtain call, so to speak, but there's some kind of energy that's really ramping up, and it's best to heed those teachings now than fool around.
Well, the sun has a lot to do with everything, and the sun is very active right now. And, it's like the central point of God in the manifest in life. And when it starts jumping off, you can be sure that it's going to start coming down into human experience. People are, I hear them all the time going, well, why did this have to happen? And, oh, this is also wrong. And why are they doing this and that and the other kind of thing? Well, it's because everything is happening at once, all the time, everywhere. And those people to whom it applies, they're involved in it. I mean, you've heard of the stations of the cross. Those are tests and trials and tribulations that you experience that, like you said, makes you stronger than the situation, and you rise up over it, and it can't hurt you anymore. I don't know if you ever read The Pilgrim's Progress. Unfortunately, the language it's written in is just really dense, that kind of Calvinistic stuff that where you get the hymns like Faith of Our Fathers. I'm sure God loves listening to that. But anyway, in Pilgrims of Progress, there's a Slough of Despond and these different places that the pilgrim has to go through, in order to find his way. And if you decide that you're going to find God, well, all of a sudden you're going to run into a whole lot of shit. It's just how it works. You don't just tra-la-la go, hey, there's God over there. I'm going to go there, and that's the end of it. No. This is how he tempers you and builds character. This is how he makes you strong enough to represent him by you acknowledging his presence in you, and then he walks you through it. He takes you right up on the dweller on the threshold and the darkness of hell. Well, Christ went right down in there. He had the keys. I mean, people, finding God is not for wusses, okay? That is not going to happen. You got to really have some stones to get into that business in the first place, and also involves stepping out of the world. So all these attractions that are drawing everyone in, all these beautiful women and the gold and the power and the fast cars and God knows all of the things that people chase after that all turn out to be hollow and all turn out to be a big disappointment. You got to walk away from all of that, and you still got to be cheerful. You got to love it. You got to love God more. And that's what it really comes down to. You just have to keep loving God more. And the more you love God, the stronger God's presence is in your life. And after a while, you get to this point, nothing can touch you. There's a sanctuary that comes around you. Let's just say it's your aura. Here's an interesting thing I once read about the Lord Buddha. They said his aura when he was around was so profound that it stretched for leagues. A league is a long way, considerably more than a mile. And they said his aura just expanded that far. And this is the thing with avatars and the rest, and these great souled ones, these Mahatmas, which means great souled. You got this aura, and this aura extends out from you. And this aura is built out of the profundity of your love, the strength of your disciplines, the power of your loyalty, your fidelity, your integrity. This is what this aura is. And as it extends out from you, it begins to include everyone else who can step into it. And if you keep building it, and of course you will, it's the difference between all the stars in the sky. Some of those stars are really powerful and filled with light, and some are just a lot smaller. Maybe they didn't start out that long ago. And but you build your aura and you become the actual sanctuary. So people can come to where you are, they step into your aura, and they're protected. That's it, no problem. God was talking to me, I forget where it was, every day, but this was some months ago. He was saying, well, Visible, I have got these people and I'm turning them into sentinels. You know how you talk about these conning towers of evil, Visible, where these people get together in these cabals and they chant these dark things, and they send these actual clouds, literal clouds of astral darkness out into the world that enter into the cities and wherever large amounts of people gather to depress them make them confused and or angry or any of the things they try to do. Well, I'm building an army of individuals who are much like them, except they're not of darkness, they're of light. And they are going to be beacons like a lighthouse. And they're going to send out this light into the darkness, and people will gather around them. And in many cases, people don't even know who it is. They'll just happen to be there, but they won't know, oh, yeah, it's Jack over there. He's the guy doing all this. No one knows it's Jack, okay? They may try to find who it is, but they can't quite figure it out. And that's how it often works too. These great souled ones, they move among us all the time, and you can't tell that it's them because they're veiled, nicely veiled. And but there are these people who are now being developed who are going to become the citadels, the sentinels for these zones of peace and plenty and well-being. And if you get your heart right and you rise up into higher and greater understandings, you will migrate there. You will be drawn there. That's what happens. Love is the attractive force. So it's like a tractor beam. It will draw you in because you're on that wavelength. Okay. And that's all anyone needs to know. I mean, just start getting your shit right inside yourself. Don't do this, don't do that. You start out with the commandments. Okay. That's elementary school. You just follow the commandments. You don't break the commandments. And if you get good at that, and you can get good at it real quick. I mean, God then measures your level of certainty with it. And then he goes, okay, now it's time for the rules. And then there are the rules. And then you get into the metaphysical laws. And after a while, you start to understand how it all works. And you can see it's like weather. You know how we got weather in the world. There are tornadoes and hurricanes and all these things that cause all kinds of trouble. Well, there's the same kind of thing happens on the astral plane and on the mental plane. There's weather there too. And, well, you have to know how to stay in the sunlight. Yeah.
Yeah, the weather is a good way to put it, because of the energies. And when I understand it better, I understand it better, and I want to go back to you have to mention the sun, and I talked to you off the air about this before, but I found this guy. His name is Stefan Burns. It's Stefan space Burns.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
He's a geophysicist, and he talks about how the relationship of the sun and the energies from the sun, in the physics sense, hit the earth, and how it carries a spiritual sense as well, and the alignments of the planets in terms of how it affects it. It's pretty good. I've been watching him for a while now, and it's refreshing to see somebody kind of touch base in all these areas, and then be consistent in the message in terms of that. So I thought I'd bring that up briefly.
Mm-hmm. Well, the sun is a living being. You can communicate with the sun. It's absolutely can do that. And there's it's like how we live in the body of God. We're all little thoughts in the mind of God. And how do I want to put this? In the sun, there's this it's like a city. It's this huge, enormous city, and all kinds of souls and people and angels live there. They live in the sun. And if you're good, you go there. Otherwise, you go to the moon, because if you go to the moon, then that's where the wardrobe department is, and that's where you get suited up for your next life. And you wind up in one or the other because of whether you can handle the light, because the light grows in intensity, and then it becomes too bright for you. So you go this way. It's like the Tibetan Book of the Dead talks about it. And you go to another light that's softer and not so bright. And that can take you right down into the hells, But if you go with the bright, then it's going to take you toward the heavens. And yeah.
Yeah, I've kind of been cautioned about going to the white light. I got a gut feeling that the white light is counterfeit, that the sunlight is the standard. And so we'll say the light of God, I'm going to say in a metaphorical sense, being on human constraints, is more of like the sunlight, rather than the moonlight, which tends to be white. You know what I'm saying? That's why when
Mhm.
you mentioned those two things, the sun and moon, it makes sense.
Well, it's like a matter of intensities, you know. If you take sound and you crank it all the way up, and then beyond your ear, it'll turn into light. And if you turn light down, it turns into sound. Don't ask me how. This is something that I came up with. I don't know, but I've actually seen it demonstrated in real life by through the beauty of psychedelics, and everything's a matter of vibrations. You know, light is anything else vibrating at a higher rate of speed, and everything comes from light. Everything is an adaptation of sunlight. Every single thing you see in the world is frozen sunlight. It's sunlight concentrated into a form based on the vibrationary nature of it. Through mediation and adaptation, it comes into being what it is. Now, you want to dwell at the highest level that you can manage to get to, but you can't get to the higher levels if you've got all these anchors. If you've got all these sandbags in your balloon, you're not going to be able to rise very high. And that's what these attachments are, and these obsessions with the passions and the appetites, and sample this. And people just won't walk away from the buffet table. And you can see that because they're all running around now weighing 400 and 500 pounds. And this is something they chose. They went in that direction, and it's absolutely terrible. And I hope that they get a clue, and they, because I've seen people turn around and walk right out of that. And the next thing you know, they're fit and they're running, because anything's possible. We're plastic. God can shape and mold us any which way you think. And if we just allow it, and you know how if it's trauma that brings you to it, sometimes it is intense suffering or pain finally brings you to a realization, or absolute despair with the world, or the disappointment and disaffection, or somebody broke your heart, whatever it takes. And then you get into this zone, and your vibrations just start to rise, and they get finer and finer and finer. And pretty soon you can't be seen on this plane. You're no longer corporate in terms of, you know, this animated dust here. You go outside of the range of the bandwidth, the frequency, which physical eyes can perceive you at. And this, they're walking around out here too. And, you know, if you raise your vibrations and you detach from the world and you stop, and that doesn't mean like becoming a complete ascetic and not eating or anything. God says moderation. Stay with the moderation. Don't get too extreme. Don't become too much of a libertine here, and don't become too much of an ascetic, because he doesn't enjoy either one of those things. So the golden mean, as the Buddha called it, and you just rise to this point, and all suffering goes away. All fear goes away. All of the dark emotions, all of the different things that trap people in these terrible situations they get into, and the other kind of people they attract because of the level they're at. And there they are. And you just have to let all of this go. You say, I'm here. It's temporary. Nothing that's here right now will be here 100 years from now. Well, some things will be, but these are just stuff. It's momentary projections of sunlight into time. And you want to get out of time. You want to get into the place where it's eternal, you know, because that's where immortality is. And it's so possible. People accomplish it. It's just a matter of going through the steps. Don't be impatient. Don't get aggressive. You know, let go of everything. Really, that's the best way. Just let go of everything, and you will automatically rise.
Have you ever read or heard about the law of one and Ra and all that stuff?
Of what?
The
Ra?
law of one with Ra.
Ra?
There were three people who.
The Seth thing?
There were three people who were no. There were three people who were meditating. One person was like, I guess, a channel, right? And supposedly Ra channeled through them. Well, I don't necessarily get into all that stuff, but I was reading through some of the information in there, which I thought was true. Now, the secret to the seed is a little truth, but going back to the sun thing with people living on it, I look at it. We can only see the vibrational dimensions we're available to, right? So I have no problem with the Earth, the sun being living beings. They're in a higher realm, a higher dimensional realm, and the part that comes out in our 3D realm is the sun. What we see in the sun is what we can see on our level in our realm. But there's higher levels.
Oh, yes.
Beings could be living on the sun like we're living on the Earth, only it's a higher area. So I have no problem with that. People get wiggly when you start talking about like the sun being a living being. They start getting into like a pseudo paganism thing. But I said, no, you got to stop putting God in a box and let it be.
Yeah.
We can't see everything and we can't know everything, but what we can see and know is what we need to see and know to get to our next level. So it all makes sense to me. I got no problems with any of that.
Well, paganism is a religious perspective, really. And the point is, you just don't worship the sun. Okay. The sun's your friend,
right?
Elder brother, whatever you want to think about it. There's one God, period.
Right.
And hardly anybody knows what his name is anyway. They come up with these, Allah and Shiva and the rest of it because they're good constructs. They work. They get their trinities to operate in each one of these perspectives. But what has happened is the avatar, it's been a long time since he's been here. So now everything is getting to the last refuge of spiritual scoundrels, okay, which is fundamentalism. This intricacies of, and oh, the Lord saith this and that, or like you get into the really terrible stuff like the Talmud or some of this stuff with Islam, and it's like they get into this minutia that's just absolutely and utterly insane. But it's been so long now, and that's how that's the virtue has gone out of this stuff, and it's gotten to where it's getting very dark. So the avatar shows up again. He's the lifeblood of existence. The avatar. That's why I would say Christ. He shed his blood for you. That blood paid for the age itself. That was the actual currency that we're still living in it. But now we're running a little short. They need to be topped up. So the avatar is coming again. And he's going to revitalize all of this. And it's going to be a whole new thing. Like the one I have a church called the First Church of the Presence of God. And it doesn't exist anywhere. You just practice it. You just practice the presence of God. That's it. Thank you. Goodbye. And but you mentioned Melchizedek to me, and I want to address that for you. Melchizedek was of the lineage of priest kings, and interestingly enough, he was supposedly here around 2166 BC when Abraham was here. And Abraham ran into, and then if you think, well, wait a minute, 2,000 years, give or take, because of the cusp period. Here's Melchizedek 2,000 years before, and here's Jesus Christ 2,000 years later. See, it's the same person, okay? All of the avatars. And so now he's coming again. And he'll have another name, and he'll have a doctrine that he lays out, and some people will get it, a whole lot of people won't. A lot of people will be pissed off because it isn't what they wanted to hear. And there's probably, as there always is, going to be a lot of bloodshed and unfortunate things taking place, because that's the way you get, for whatever the reason is, you get to where you're trying to get to. You can't plant in the earth unless you break the earth. You can't make an omelet unless you break eggs. And this, for some reason, is the process why life involves pain and suffering. But you don't experience any of it if you're not attached. If you're not attached. To the degree that you are attached to anything, and it's all going to be ripped away from you. The degree that that's how much suffering you have. That's how much suffering you will experience because of your attachment to it. And mostly to yourself, because your body has gotten out of balance because you're attached to things that aren't important, and you neglect the things that are important instead of just getting yourself into a harmonious state of being. And if you can do that, the next thing you know is you don't hurt anymore. You don't run into any problems. It's like it's magic, you know. All I can say is that's how it's been for quite some time. And I attribute it all to that. And it's because there's one God, and this one God is in every single one of us. And when you look at people, you should see God, or you can see the devil. There's either one are there. You can invoke one, or you can invoke the other. And so it's best to just go around and see God in everyone, whether they know it or not, or whether they see it or not. You see it. So you see that God in them and you call it forth in them. So in this way, you bless everybody you run into because you see the good in them. You see what they can be. And you actually bless them into that way. You enter into a conspiracy with their higher self to help them realize that which you see in them. You pray for them. You ask God, because he's your buddy, he's your friend. You go, God, you know, this guy over here, would you maybe could like help him out? He really, and I know you can do it. So would you please help this guy out? And yeah, okay. And that's how it gets done. What does it say in the Bible? I think it's in the New Testament. It goes, and so you can say, if you want this man blessed, you say he's blessed and he is blessed. You want this one saved, you say he is saved and he is saved. And that's the Christ, you know, and I mean, yeah, because you have that power. You have the power of God. And what is that? That's your belief in God, your certainty in God. You know God is real. You're only asking for something that's good. All that is good is the will of God. So you're just asking for God's will to be done. It's a simple thing.
I have just for the
111.
since you brought it up, I have the. I'll put the link to the church, the First Church of the Presence of God. I have the video that you put together up here.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, it's just all people have to know is that it exists within them, and they're carrying the church around with them wherever they go, like a turtle, you know, and or a hermit crab. And
one thing that you know, you ask about attachment and all that. I had a question on. I have this inside me feeling like that you should make a stand for those who are oppressed, right? So, like, if you're in a position, you see somebody who's being attacked or whatever, you should do something about it rather than not get involved and all that. And it's always been a complex to me, but what I found seems to be the answer is to, if you are in that situation, that's one thing, as opposed to going out looking for that situation. Because if something happens in front of you for your interaction, then there's a purpose in it, rather than someone trying to go out and find the trouble to do something about it. Of course, that may be your calling, a policeman or whatever. But that's kind of how I personally dealt with it. I'm prepared to help the innocent, and however I can, when I can, as it comes. And one of the things I got in the Bible, when Jesus says, go ye therefore, teach all nations. One of the things when you look at the Greek is the proper way to say it is also as you go, teach all nations. So in other words, I've looked at it as I go through life, I reflect out the teachings that Jesus taught and lived by, rather than having to, be a missionary in Africa, so to speak. Now, there's people who got that calling, and that's fine. But you know what I'm saying?
Well, the Sufis have a whole lot of stories and tales. They're very good for that sort of thing. And a lot of these Sufi tales are great teaching devices. And I remember one of them in which there was this master and he had a disciple, and the master gave the disciple certain powers. And he said, be very careful how you use these powers, because you don't know how it's going to turn out or what you might become culpable for because you helped someone, for instance. So this transaction goes on and this transference goes on. And then this disciple, he sees this man, he works on the railroad or something, and he's got this boss that just treating him like shit, and beating him. And he's just getting where he can't stand it. And he's going, no, I'm going to help this guy. And so he does through spiritual powers. And the guy turns into a real son of a bitch and winds up, even worse than the guy who was mistreating him. And his master came back around and had to explain to him, you see what can happen with your good intentions, because you don't know who you're dealing with. And sometimes people are where they are because that's where they're supposed to be. That's where they put themselves, is what they deserve. And you can feel bad for them and you can try to pray for them and help them and all. But it may just be that it's a good thing they don't have power or ability, because who knows what they would turn into. Because, so it's just something to keep in mind. And it's like your dharma, there's that which you're given to do, and there's everything else, and that you're just not going to be as good at it. But if you find the thing that you're supposed to be doing, and everything's just going to fall into line for you. You see people in need or in a desperate situation, you help if you can. These are what you've run into as you move through life. You see an opportunity here and there, and you try to help. But you've always got to be mindful, boy, that doesn't come back and bite you. I mean, there are various people, especially these days, who go and help somebody out, and the next thing you know, they broke into their house and stole everything they have. So,
yeah,
and killed their children.
So as far as what's going on in the world, I don't mean to be like USA concentric or whatever, but it seems like a lot is depending upon what's going to happen here, how it's going to happen over there. But one of the things that did come out that I thought was very significant was that when Trump started to pull away from the war stuff, Europe and Great Britain says, well, you know what? We're going to do it ourselves then.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Which is a joke, because it'd be like
Russia
versus Europe. I mean, come on. But it just shows that there's such a bloodlust, a blinding bloodlust, that's calling them out. I mean, if people are, for those eyes to hear, see, and ears to hear, here they are standing up going, we want blood. We have to not do that. And I'm just hoping that, I don't know, I'm hoping it works out. I mean, Trump in the office, there's no other person who could be in there to have a chance, and the fact that he survived the assassination attempt kind of tells me that God gave him God gave him a little bit of a blessing there. So I just hope it can pull through it, but whatever it is, God will be done. But I also don't want to get sucked into the rabbit hole drama of it all.
Wars are caused by bankers. That's where your wars come from. Starmer and all the rest of these guys, they're in deep with these bankers who have promised them so much for doing what they do. They get paid for this. They're whores. And they beat the drumbeat for war because they don't have to go. They're going to stay back over here and they'll be just fine. They're going to send you and you're going to fight this war. Well, these wars are started by bankers, because what bankers do is they steal so much money that they screw up the entire financial situation of the world. And the only way they can make it work again is by having a war, because the war, clears the decks. And suddenly that's the only thing on everybody's mind. And then they rebuild out of that. And they start this war to reimburse themselves, basically. And that's what a Satanist is. These are some very, very dark people indeed. And all of your governments and your prime ministers and your presidents or whatever they are all beholden to interests that got them into the situations they're in. And if they're not amendable to the commands made by the people who own them, well, they just may not even be around any longer. But even if that doesn't happen, they'll certainly be disgraced and out of office. And all of a sudden, there'll be all kinds of slander and stuff about them. And they know this, or their families will be killed. And that they know too. But they didn't know these things when they were getting into it, you see. And they became a councilman here, and they were representing this district here. And then they worked their way up because they made deals with the people that are on the way up until there was nothing of them left to sell. And now they're caught in this dilemma Like, for instance, you look at Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, or any of these people, look at their eyes these days. They look like a deer in the headlights. They look like, oh shit, I didn't know. Oh, I didn't know this was all going on. I just thought we could go out and just, make the world a better place and we could correct this and correct that. But all of these people are owned, and I'm owned because I am constrained and I can't do anything about this stuff. I can't release these files because yada, 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 whatever the reasons are. And that's just how the world is there. I don't concern myself with what these politicians are up to. God works with good people and bad people. Okay. He can get the bad people to do what he wants to, or you can get them to forget to do something that he doesn't want them getting done, or you can divert them to something else, which indirectly will turn into something good, because those who serve the good, this is what they do. They use evil as raw materials to create new goodness. They take evil and they reroute it, or they reconstrue it. They move it through changes that it doesn't see coming, until the next thing you know, it's been changed without it's even knowing what happened. And that's kind of how it works, and how God keeps everything in balance, because the key to existence is balance. That's it. As like they say, equilibrium, balance again, is the secret of the great work. And the great work is attaining liberation. It's finding the pearl of great price, or whatever you want to call it, completing the operation of the sun, the great work. So you just have to become more and more balanced, more and more balanced. You're not all outraged at this side over here that's bad and evil, and you're not entirely convinced of all these people over here who think they're doing good and may only just be play acting. And so you just put all the appearances aside and you just let the scales of your being. And balance isn't this. Balance is this. This is balance.
That's a good point. That's a good point, because you're balancing amongst the roughness as opposed to constraining the roughness. And I've noticed this with people who are they say, like, this should be here, this should be there, and it might be right. It's a good thing, but when you have this fluid world, you got to kind of flow with it and still keep that balance. Very good. I like that that the visual effect there.
When you come into balance, if you really come into balance, then anybody who comes into your company all of a sudden starts to get balanced without their even knowing it. This is what happens with masters. People have noted, you get hundreds of people in the room and all of them are focused on this individual, and he's making every one of them feel good and see things they weren't seeing before. And he isn't doing anything. He's just balanced. And it's the aura again. It radiates out and it just starts adjusting everybody else. And this is what we all should probably really be doing, is getting ourselves into balance so that we don't have to run around correcting everybody else. Hey, you shouldn't be doing that over there. This is wrong. Here, give me the wrench. You don't get into that stuff. You just get yourself balanced. And then you're going to balance everyone you run into. I mean, I go down to the gym or the different places I go, and I note all the different people there, and I can see when someone's suffering or they're not. I mean, these things start to become clear to you when your eyes become clear, and you just carry this balance with you, and you can pray for them when you're looking directly at them and they don't know it. And God's listening, and he's actually going to do something. And you don't need credit. Who the hell needs credit when you get to do this kind of stuff, I mean, if it means that you got to be recognized for what you do, the next thing you know, you've got to deal with fame. Oh, good God, you got to deal with self-importance. Do people realize what a terrible crosses those are to bear? No, be the anonymous guy that goes around helping without anyone knowing you're helping them. And just by adjusting yourself, It's what Lao Tzu says, or Buddha, I forget who it was that said it. Says, before someone sets out to fix a bad man, he corrects in himself what is wrong with the bad man. You see, and that's what it is. I mean, you look and you see what the trouble is, so you fix it here, and then it'll fix it there, and you can you can do this stuff for eternity, and always be helping people and living in states of exaltation that are beyond words to even attempt to define. And it's open to anybody. Just get on the path and start going. The thing with most people, though, is they get on the path and they find out the path is hard. It hurts. Well, but what about all this stuff I had? And then I was doing this and that, and I'm not going to get to do any of that. And it's made deliberately rough for quite some time, depending on, how much of it you accomplished at other times, just to weed out the losers. Because there are people who, oh, this is you. Oh, look, this is that's why they got these 4 weekends and an intensive seminars now, where you go, the next thing you know, you're a master, you're going to learn this and that, and somebody give you a piece of paper, and now, you've got it all sussed. These people don't know what they're talking about. It's not how it works. You have to sacrifice everything there is about your personal self in order to be able to achieve divine impersonality, which heals everyone you run into and which balances the world all around you. The one thing you have to do is just let go of yourself. Forget there's a you. Just lose yourself in this work. And that's what true selflessness is. Stop thinking about yourself and what you're going to get out of it. Well, is anybody going to notice that I did this? Or geez, I think it just makes God laugh. You're not ready. Go away. But if you're sincere, if you are sincere, well, help is at hand.
Yeah, I think that one of the differences I realized for people who are sincere was the ones who are worried about like the credit or what it's going to cost them versus the person who's looking at the needs of the other. I mean, I had a discussion with a person about predators, and I gave an example of a predator. A predator would be a salesperson who is trying to sell the next level up and figure out how they can borrow money to get that sale because there's more commission versus selling them the thing that they really need and what they do. And when I brought that up, that person never talked to me again. So I guess he was a salesman.
If you help people, you'll get helped. It's automatic. It automatically, and you just go around helping without even thinking about it. You don't have to remember it. All right, I did this. Yeah, you don't remember it at all. You just go around, and while you're doing that, while you're in the process of helping others, you're getting helped. And then your burdens get lighter. And eventually you don't have any burdens. Then you can start taking on other people's burdens. Here, give me a piece of that. I'll just take a handful of that from you. And because you can handle it and you burn it up and it's gone. And oh yeah, there are such people moving around among us. That's certainly what I aspire to. And, but that's in God's hands. He determines how our destinies are worked out. And the more that because see, God has a perfect image, a perfect vision of us. But we think we know how we're supposed. So he says, okay, go ahead. But if we just let God's vision become our vision of ourselves, the next thing you know, you're moving at lightning speed to everything you could have ever possibly wanted that you didn't even know that that's what it was because you didn't know who you were in the first place. And it just all starts getting sorted out. If things aren't working, there's a reason, okay? If things aren't working out for you, there's a reason. Obviously, you're interfering with something, you're doing it wrong. Stop doing it.
Yeah, I have to say, in other times we've talked, I've mentioned that I was going through some tumultuous times, and here I am, right? Things are working. I'm getting through it. It was more my watching the tumultuosity, if you know, I just made up a word, around me, rather than being in my space going through it. Which, And I notice stuff, and I'll walk away from this interview. I'm thinking, oh, that was great. I feel pretty good and all that. And then the next day comes and whack, something tries to knock you off balance already. So
Yeah, that's what it does.
I'm beginning to expect the whack rather than be surprised by it.
If something can knock you out of balance, then you weren't balanced in the first place. So you're just being reminded, perhaps, oh, here I got it knocked. No, you don't. And that's why you got to stay like a little child. You got to stay humble. You have to be incredibly humble, because boy, you start raising your head up above. What do they say about the nail that sticks out is the one that gets hammered? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think if you go through life enough, you'll have less reason to not be humble, because you've been humbled so much. But yet I see people out there who just keep on keeping on. I mean, there's a guy in our neighborhood who's been causing a lot of trouble. The guy is now nearing upper 50s, and he's acting like he's 18, still causing his trouble. I'm driving away while drinking, getting fired from this job because his mother gets another job and all that. I'm going like, dude, you are creating like an amazing cliff to fall off of in front of you. And he could turn, but it's like you can't. So I look at that rather than like judge him per se. I go, okay, what am I doing that's relative to that same thing? Mm-hmm. So I've kind of learned that, and it keeps you humble. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I'll tell you what. I mean, self-importance is like, I don't even understand it anymore at this point, because I think about my heroes, which is Jesus Christ, the Amitabha Buddha, Lord Krishna. Well, there's a bunch of them. And these are all exalted beings so far beyond my capacity. And I don't see how I can consider myself important at all in comparison with the ones that I aspire to. So it's best if I just put that aside, because self-importance and all the rest of the inflatable toys that the ego creates, to play with itself, they're really filled with concrete, and they'll drag you down, and they'll drag you down, and they'll drag you down. And we don't all have to die, but we all must be changed. I tell you, my solution: let go.
If I could circle back to what you started with about this thing that's coming up, this shift and the blood sacrifice and all that, I'm trying to think how I can say this. I know God allows things, right? I understand all of that, but is this some kind of inevitability for these blood things to happen, for the causality of it in terms of exposing them or whatever? I mean, or is it something that could be avoided if people, and I don't know who or how or when, were to not want this or turn away from it? I mean, I'm wondering how inevitable things are in terms of the flow of this karmic lesson for the planet.
Well, those things exist for the people for whom they exist for. If people see this inevitability, or they're caught up in this, or the appearances, once again, it really looks like that's what's happening, and so that's what I'll think is happening. And there are people to whom it doesn't apply. So they're not going to be affected. It's not going to involve them. You could be standing in the street in the middle of a riot, and nothing will touch you. Nothing, because you have no connection to what's going on around you. If you connect yourself with it, okay, it'll probably be real. For instance, bad things are going to happen tomorrow and next week and the week after. It's guaranteed bad things are going to happen. You'll read about them in the paper and they go, yep, there it is. That's that bad thing you said was going to happen. Yeah. And they happen to the people that are involved in them, engaged in them, that involved themselves in it, that got themselves engaged in it, and who are dancing with this thing, and voila. Wars. You get all these people that go to war, and they're in the war, and there's terrible stuff. And there's all the people who didn't go to war. And sometimes you have to go to war because war is part of the way it works too. See, so it's very hard to understand how this all works. But if you make peace with yourself, you are automatically at peace with everyone else. So you're not going to have any of these conflicts. They aren't going to happen to you. You have to make peace with yourself. And that means you have to let go of your suppositions and your judgments about what other people are up to. And you got to let go of the blame thing and stop casting aspersions on other people and just figuring that you know what's going on, because nothing will cause God to start the purpose of demonstration than for him to see somebody deciding that they know what's going on. And you know, oh, by the way, so it's just best to, I mean, I know what you're saying, but it's like karma. Karma applies to the people who have the karma. If you don't have the karma, it doesn't apply to you. Bad shit's going to happen in this world. A whole lot of people are going to die, but they're all going to die anyway. All right. So that's another fact. But yes, I'm, you know, terrible. You know, who knows what these new pandemics they got planned, the things that they're intending to do. And there are people that are buying into this. And look at the people that got all those vaccines. They buy into it. They allow themselves to be ruled by the fear that is visited upon them by the fear mongers. But if it just doesn't, it's not relevant to you and it's got nothing to do with you. Yes, it's terrible it happened to these people, but what could you have done? You know, you go over and you start telling, hey, you better stop doing this and that. They'll turn around and punch you in the face. You know, it's like pearls before swine. It's unfortunate, what they call it, unbearable compassion. You see something happening, you know it doesn't have to be happening. You wish you could do something, but you know it's not in your hands. So you pray. Basically, you pray. Every time you see something needs fixing, you pray about it. You pray that God will fix that. You say, Lord, look at this here. What do you think? And God goes, yep, okay, I've got that. Maybe you're only here for that reason to pray so that God can fix those things because you decided that you are going to stop trying to fix things. You're going to make sure that God fixed everything. So, I mean, that's how I look at it. So I don't worry about any of that stuff. I mean, God will do what he's going to do. You know?
I guess that's probably what my thing to learn here is to find out that detachment, what is yours and what isn't yours. But it's hard when you see sufferings to say like, well,
yeah,
it's their karma, you know, but can I actually do any help for them or not would be more of a better guide than just simply blanketly doing it. I don't know. I'm still in that area.
Prayer is the power of God set in motion by your faith in God's ability to answer prayer. It just came to me. Okay. Okay. Prayer has the power. You invest in it. And God has all power. So you invested in it with your faith and God fixes it. You are concerned about these people and ask God to fix it. Just don't go running over yourself trying to fix it because that's maybe not going to work out. You don't have a dog in the fight there anyway or something. I know how terrible it is that this is happening. I mean, every day I see the stuff in Gaza, man, and I see the videos and the films and I go, oh boy, are they going to get a spanking, you know, but I can't really get angry or twisted out or any of the rest of it. I feel terrible about it, but this is something that just has to play out for some reason. I don't know why, but this has been going on since who knows when. I mean, go back 100 years here and 200 years there. There have been horrible things that have gone on. I'm a student of history. I've read a lot of this stuff that people don't know about what happened in the Manchu period, or what Tamerlane got up to, or Charles Martel, or the rest of these people.
Yeah, I've been reading this series here.
Yeah.
I have the audio books, and it was so good. I've listened to them so many times that I've started to buy the books. And the stuff that happened in the ancient world.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like stunningly horrible what things were done, you know. And so this is what humanity can do if allowed to do it. I mean, if left unbridled, it's happened. And the part that I don't want to say worried, but concerned with is now we have that same evilness with big guns and universal weapons. You know, this is where we need God, you know, to draw the line rather than humanity to draw the line. I don't know, you know.
Well, it's faith again. Once again, it's just faith. If the bullet doesn't have your name on it, the bullet's not going to hit you. I mean, I have read tales about people who went into Sergeant York and some of these other people that were involved in these conflicts, and bullets just couldn't find them. They did the most incredible stuff. Look at that one film that Clint Eastwood made about the guy who was a pacifist who went into the war. Yeah. Oh boy, was that Ripsaw or Haywire or something like that. Yeah. Oh man. I mean, this stuff plays out every single day. I've seen these videos on X where somebody, where they show a person just steps off the curb and this bus goes by, or this whole building falls down, but the guy had just walked across the street moments before. I mean, I've seen so many examples of this stuff because I enjoy that, watching these close calls. So maybe I go and because there's a whole area in X where you can see these kind of videos and you go, oh, come on. Of course it's a God. Look at the stuff. I mean, Some of these narrow escapes are unbelievable. I mean, it just didn't touch him.
I mean, I've been driving truck 41 years, and I've been in several of those. They're humbling and amazing at the same time, because I saw what I realized, like, there's nothing I could have done. And I got through it. And it's like, all you can do is thank God,
And you're sitting here right now. I mean, and you're here by his grace.
Absolutely.
And if you just live with that in mind, I live each moment in God's grace will start to surround you. And then you can transmit God's grace to others. When you forget yourself, it's the key to the whole thing. Forget yourself and lose yourself in service to others. And it doesn't mean going around working in soup kitchens and things. That might work for somebody, but it just means having your mindset like that, wishing people well. You do more good for people praying for them or wishing them well or blessing them than you do giving them a meal. Okay. Because they're going to be hungry again the next day. I mean, that's, and I'm not saying you don't give them a meal. Of course that you do, but I'm saying there's a way to go about this all day long, helping people from here and here, instead of having to go out and get actively, you can help vast swatches of people just by encapsulating them all into the same format of the same prayer. See, God's real. God is, I don't know how to convey this to people. It has to become visceral. God is so real, and God is good. God is absolute, utter good.
I know.
There is nothing about God that isn't good. Yeah. And so that if this is good, and I ask God like a little child, God, would you help that person? And God goes, yeah, because God's another kid. He goes, yeah, I'll go help him.
Yeah, I got people in the chat room. I got some questions they're coming up with, but one comment was just made about giving the meal, that there's an alchemitic, I'm making that word, of value for you helping the person with that physical token. There's like, I don't know what to call it. I don't want to use the word magic. That's kind of negative, but there's power in the act of helping in that meal. It goes.
Oh God, yes. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get into what I have personally done, but I'm always on the outlook for anybody who needs a little money or is, anyway, these people, I would carry amounts of money around, but I don't really have that much money, but I always got a spare 20 or something like that. Come on. And that's just the way it goes, around Christmas. I'm always looking for these people. And, but I don't really want to talk about that, but it's just, you do what you do as you go. Life is magical, and life's going to provide situations. You want to be helpful? You want to be useful? Did I hear you right? God says, did I hear you say, okay? And he's just going to start giving you situations because they're there all the time anyway. We're just not seeing them. Every time we're passing by people, we had our hearts and minds open. We could see in their faces, they're suffering. Or this person over here saying, oh, their heart's hurting them, or this person over here, they got this anger and they don't know what to do about it. And this person with this resentment. because I study physiognomy, okay, and this is what a real passion for me. And you get to where you can see things in people's presentation of themselves, and you just love. Love is the universal palliative, man. Love heals everything. You just have to get enough of it. That's all. You can't get it if you're being selfish. Love and selfishness do not come together. Forget yourself, get rid of yourself. All the rest of it, love will have a home. And then you can dispense as much love as you want. That's the real meal. You feed somebody that, and they don't get hungry anymore.
I have. That's actually Jesus did that. The bread. I have the bread of life. You're seeking bread, but I'm the bread of life, and so on. I got a Glenn in the chat room is asking for the Freedom Flotilla prognosis ?
Well, Greta's involved, so and when and she's a bit of a publicity magnet, and I look at her parents, and I know a little something about her background and the whole communist aspect of what's going on there with the programming and all. Although I wish her well, and I heard her say something on X a couple of days ago. It was profound. It really moved me, and I went, geez, because I've never been that fond of her, for my reasons. But then she said, see, Visible, look at what she just said. She's got a lot of good in her. And she's putting herself out there. So, they say they're going to stop her. I saw the guy directly say it. She ain't landing here and she ain't going to Gaza. So I don't know what exactly is going to go from that. But as I spoke at the beginning of the program about this Axis Mundi thing and this 6/11, when these 50 representatives from 54 nations are all, I guess they're on their way now. They left from Cairo and they're headed, so many hundreds of kilometers to Gaza, and blood sacrifice time. It fits right into the demographic of how Israel operates. They can, find a way to spin what they do by killing all these people. Well, we had no choice. They've been getting away with it for so long anyway that they're just, their arrogance is just unbelievable. And here I see all these patterns coming together on 6/11. 6/11. What is this? 6/11. Oh, and I don't know though. I'm not wishing bad. I'm not hoping that it gets like that. I really hope it works out for Greta. But I knew some people personally who were on the last flotilla, and Ken O'Keefe and a few other people, and the Israelis boarded, and they got in a big physical fist fight, and then they were arrested. Didn't do any good, but it's the thought that counts, maybe, and maybe some action's better than no action, depending on. I don't know. I can't answer that. I don't know what's likely to happen.
It could be the pebble in the water that starts to ripple. Yeah. You don't know.
Well, I'm just telling you that things are very desperate right now in Israel. They are going out of their minds because the whole world is turned against them, and there's a power in that. This whole world they caused it too. The whole world is turned on them with this just righteous indignation and anger and everything else. And
it has to do something to them with Trump, pulling back a little bit. It's got to do something.
Well, I don't know about that guy. I'll tell you.
Right. It's something. It's better than.
He gave him the bunker buster bombs, okay?
Yeah.
That leveled Gaza, and it didn't bother him a bit. So his things he could say and do, he ain't doing them. So
I know.
I don't know. Once again, I can't judge. I don't know. I don't know what's going on here, but I don't like what I see as far as my. I'm thinking, geez, because that's very real. These people, what is happening? They're being starved to death now.
Yeah, and I saw a quote from official of Israel saying that we're not going to feed the rebels, the military. Yeah. We're not going to, we want to send food in. We're not going to be feeding them. Well, what about the other people? It's not like they're part of it.
They want these people gone. That's it. They had them lining up, going through these little paddock gates like things. And then he went out and opened fire on them. They just started shooting them for no reason. They got them to come to where the aid is, and then they started gunning them down. And they've been doing it for the longest time. They deliberately target children with headshots. They deliberately do this. They go into the Palestinian houses and put on their clothes and dance around and party and laugh about it. And they do it all the time, and they keep doing it. So God knows, he sees. It's going to come to a head soon. And Israel's finished. They're toast now. It's over for them.
There's a I guess a significant, whatever that word would mean, number of people in Israel who are Israelis who are against this.
Yeah, not very many. 80%, I think they found. No. Majority of Israelis are 100% behind all the nasty shit going on. You'd be astounded. And I didn't see it just in one place. I've seen it in all kinds of different places. They just, there's a certain portion, a small amount, but most of them, they're totally behind it. It's a lot of them. It really is. I mean, you can go and check. They had statistics of, studies and what people said. And I'm saying, not just one experience for me on this.
Right.
I've got dozens of experiences of these people en masse. They get up on this hill. They went up and they put up these things you used to look at the Statue of Liberty and stuff. Okay. They put them up these hills so people could watch the Gazans being murdered. Okay. And they go up there. Hundreds of them go up there and at a cocktail hour, and they laugh and they drink their cocktails and look at the Gaza being destroyed. Fact. Okay. So there's so much more than just that. Look what the settlers do. Oh, Jesus.
What got me to start seeing, I didn't pay a lot of attention, but when I started seeing the footage of the Israeli guys going through the neighborhood, the Palestinian neighborhood, with the skunk juice or whatever they call it, and they're shooting this water cannon into their houses with this horrendous smelling stuff.
Really? See, I didn't know about that.
I saw that, and I'm going, and they did it because of some uprising or something. Well, how can you go to just a regular neighborhood and do that to them because somebody did something else? That's what started me thinking and seeing this stuff, and it's just unacceptable. It's terrorism. Yes.
Look, this is all purpose of demonstration. It's a movie. This is all happening so the whole world can see it. There doesn't be no doubt in the mind of humanity. It's a teaching moment. It's a lesson. And the whole world is being brought to watch and see what's happening. And then it's going to get resolved. You'll see. No one ever takes over the world. All this bullshit about digital currency and surveillance states and all the rest of these things. They're at their last gasp. That ain't going to happen. A new age of brotherhood is coming. That I know. Not what all these people are saying is coming, or or this boogeyman and that boogeyman. An age of brotherhood is coming.
I agree with that totally, all the way through, but I wonder how bad it will get before that breaks through.
It's got to get bad in some places.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be there.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but somehow people arranged to be there. They made a commitment. They worked their way into it. And nothing happens by accident. There are no accidents. Everybody's exactly where they're supposed to be. And they, even down to the diseases that people catch and when they catch them and why, it's everything is get right with God. That's what I got to say. Best get right with God and stay right with God. And that means forgetting about yourself. You stop worrying about yourself, a whole lot of things start changing. Well,
we're at about the 100 minute mark. I think that might be a good length.
Yeah.
Yes,
it is.
Kind of wind up that you want to say here as we end?
Well, go and listen to my new song at Substack. I
have
wrote a
it
song
queued
about,
here. I could play it if you would like. Or if you'd
I'll
rather have it
explain
go,
it. You know that song by Dylan, Knock, Knock, Knocking on
Yeah.
Heaven's Door? Well, I got this one's called Knock, Knock, Nakba on Israel's Door. And
I'm just really stunned at how the quality is. I mean, how you can manipulate all that stuff. It's like having a producer. You know,
Oh, yeah.
only you're the producer, but it's like enabling you to do this stuff. I mean, that's like, it doesn't sound canned. It doesn't sound anything. It sounds very fresh and real. I'm really kind of impressed.
God did that for me. You know, he took my friend Patrick Willis, who got in touch with me. He took some of my songs and did it and showed me what was possible. I went, whoa! And so now I've been doing a song every single day. So I've done, I don't know, 100 and surely over 100 songs now this year that I put up there, and I'm going to do a new song every weekday for the whole year, and then maybe I'll stop. But it's just one of the little challenges I set myself.
You can find this stuff on his Substack. I'll have the links below, and I'm showing it now. You can get in there and subscribe, and you could see all of these he posts along with writings and whatnot. But you could see the various songs and listen to them. And I tell you, I'm, not only is the message good. Obviously, you're a good writer and a poet, but the music is good too. It's not just kind of Phil. I really am impressed.
It's God has made this possible, and so you said about closing it up, and maybe something I could say, okay, to anybody who's listening right now or paying attention right now, it's not as bad as you think it is, and it doesn't have to get any worse. I mean, just understand the connection between God and love. God is indescribable and incomprehensible and impossible to know. But the only way that we can, as much as we are permitted to know God, we know through love. And love exists at many levels, all the way down to where you can't see it, all the way up beyond what you can see, okay? And you just want to raise yourself to a state of higher love. And we get higher, which means less of yourself. There are degrees and gradients. Okay, well, I got 3 points of myself here. I got 10 points of myself here. You'll be at the gradient of what parts of yourself you got rid of in order for this love to stream through you. And as it does, it will heal you. It will heal everyone you come in contact with. It will heal everybody you think about. It will heal everything that your eyes or your ears focus upon, because that's what you're doing. You're loving it. You're not loving the thing they're doing. It's like they say, hate sin, not the sinner. You just love. You love. And as you love, it's like a bellows on a fire. You love, and the more you love, the more you can love. And then you keep loving and loving. And what happens is, at first, it's like a pump, like an outdoor pump. You do this, and for a while, there's no water at all. And then for a while, this dirty water runs out. And then for a while, and then this big stream of clear water comes. And then you take your hand off the pump, still going. So you just have to start priming the pump. You have to do this, and so the water will run. And the more love that runs through you, the more love can run through you. And this little tributary that you are right now, it'll widen into like a stream that'll open up into a river, and eventually, it'll reach the ocean itself. And it's something to shoot for.
Amen. It's a very good metaphor with the pump. Starts out nothing and a little dirty. It's very good. It's very good. Which is why you do these things. You're very good at it. Well, I want to thank you for coming by. Knock on wood, right? Everything worked, and thank God for that. This will automatically appear in BitChute and in Rumble if everything's figured out right. And we'll make a regular deal of this every month or so. I think maybe, I don't know, maybe 5 weeks. I don't know. It depends on what I'm doing here, because I got all kinds of noise in the background I'm dealing with. But if there's a significant date coming up that you'd like to deal with, stuff, let me know so I can make room.
Sure.
You
I'm
mentioned this
just
6/11 thing coming up.
kind of at your disposal. So when it works out for you, then it works out for me to be there because I'm usually free. I can always arrange to be. And otherwise, you got your projects and I got my projects. When it comes together, it comes together.
Yeah. And now they've officially saved your setup here. I don't have to recreate the wheel every time we get together. So, well, Les, I thank you and God bless you. And man, I tell you, when I do talk with you like this, I mean, speaking from person who's just being, just talking to you or listening to you, it really does help. I really do feel a battery charging, so you do have God's energy spewing out. It sounds like a bad word, but spewing out of you, pouring out of you, and it does help. And I know I get people who email me all the time thanking you for being on and thanking me for having you, and I'm like, hey, it's my pleasure and honor. So,
well, it's all God. It's just how He's decided to do it, and in my own awkward way, I've just kind of adapted. I hope to be better at it, but it's all God. He's responsible for any good that comes out of me. I only take credit for my mistakes.
yeah. That's funny to hear you say that because I've actually said that. That's but anyway, all right. We'll let you go. Thanks a lot. Have a good day. Have a good week, and we'll speak to you soon. And I have all the links for people who are just discovering you. I have all the links for all the stuff that you're doing, and we'll see all of you back again next time. So, thank you, sir.
God's peace be upon you all.
Thank you.